What are leave adjustments and how to use them in UpRaise? This feature is available in the UpRaise for Employee Garrison and UpRaise People apps for Jira. On my screen here, I've already navigated to the leaves, time off, or vacation, whatever you want to call the terminology, on the leave screen, and then summary tab. Now I'll navigate to the adjustment tabs and I'll talk about this concept of adjustments. UpRaise handles leave management quite uniquely in the sense that it is not possible to delete a leave request that was already created. There are various statuses applicable to the leave request that was created, but once a request is created, it cannot be deleted from the system. The reason being, we want to maintain transparency within the system so that even users who have admin, super admin access are not able to abuse it, right? What that means is there will be a few situations where you will have to make some adjustments to the leave balance of an employee. What are some of those situations? One being, let's say, an employee worked over a weekend, right? Maybe there was a project that was due and the employee needed to work over that weekend. One way to ensure that the employee is compensated for these additional working days, or rather additional work that they performed on the weekend, adjustments could be made. So there are two types of adjustments. There is credit type of adjustment and there is debit type of adjustment. In this situation where employee had worked over a weekend, the human resources manager should credit those 2 days into the balance of that employee. That is credit adjustment. The reverse situation could also be true, which is, imagine a user or an employee did not post their leave request beforehand on any given day, but they availed that leave and they didn't even put that leave as a past dated leave after the event. So you still have the ability to debit that one leave from their balance using this debit adjustment. Now, of course, the adjustments are either manual or system triggered. On the screen here, you'll notice there are system accrual type of adjustments. All of these are credit adjustments, and you'll notice, for example, in our case, the leave policy renewal date is 1st of April. So on 1st of April, our annual accrual has happened, and those 22 leaves, casual leaves, were added to the logged in users balance through credit adjustment. So this system of adjustment ensures that all the activity that is happening on an employee's leave balance is always transparently visible to everyone involved. So in essence, there are only two ways for any employee to accrue and utilize their leaves. The accrual can happen through adjustments, whether that is system-based, system-triggered credit accrual or manually triggered accrual. And same applies for the debit adjustments as well. So when I apply for a leave, when I avail a leave, that leave will be available under the time off section, and that number of leaves will be deducted from my balance, right? So it's kind of a passbook if you combine the data from leaves and adjustment tabs for an employee. It will reveal every activity that has happened on that employee's leave balance. Now, obviously, given that adjustments are meant to be a measure for manually correct the balances. The permission to set up these adjustments is by default available only to the UpRaise administrators and super administrators. So in the top right corner here, when you see where you see the adjustment button, this button will not be visible to the normal users themselves. When I click on adjustment, this is a small pop-up that I'll see. For which user do I want to make this adjustment, right? So let's say I want to make this adjustment for the logged in user. Let's say I want to add a comp off. And should it be a credit type of adjustment or a debit type of adjustment? Let's say I want to credit 1 day for Saturday, the 13th work. Right. So I'm just taking here an example. When I click on create, you'll notice this was a manually initiated credit adjustment triggered by this user. 1 day was accrued. The reason was added in here. And it will have impacted the balances which we have discussed separately. I can use the same logic, but this time around I can get rid of the credit balance that I have added. So what I'll do here is I'll say this was a test. So reversing the credited leave. That's it. When I click on create, a debit has happened. So as a result of these two activities, the effective change in the logged in users leave balance for comp of leave type is 0, right? So you can utilize this for multiple situations. Another situation being, imagine an employee joined your organization in the mid of the year, and they have probably accrued something like 12.75 leaves due to your leave policy configurations. Now, obviously, it's not possible within UpRaise to avail a leave that is of less duration than half a day. So that 0.25 out of 12.75 becomes unusable. In such a situation, what you can do is you can either debit that 0.25 and credit it into the next cycle, or essentially add 0.75 to bring that to a rounding off number, which can actually be availed. So that's how you end up utilizing adjustments. You can also export the adjustments and the time off from this action here. So the same export action is available under export, or rather under the leaves and adjustment tabs. You can decide which data do you want to export. And if you combine the both, then that will mean you are essentially downloading the entire passbook of activities against this logged in users information. All the data that is visible on the screen is going to be exported and sent out over an email. I hope this explains the concept of adjustment. Thank you very much.